Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Hallowed Be Thy Game. I am very excited to welcome back Kay, the Guild Static DPS Samurai, Lord God, Shinobi slash whatever that form would be. But yeah, if you today we have a really interesting conversation that I've been wanting to have for a while, and that is going to be the mentor system. I am not a mentor, so in the background of this video, you're going to be seeing just a normal expert duty roulette. But I'll go ahead and turn it over to Kay and let him just kind of give us a quick info on the mentor roulette system as a whole.
Yeah, hey guys, what's up? It's Kay, Samurai from the Static. Mentor system is something that, oh man, it's got a lot of mixed feelings in the community. I guess the first thing that I should note when even trying to broach the subject of it is the original intention Square Enix had behind the system versus how it actually kind of came to be utilized by the player base. What the mentor system is, it's a basically a supposed to be a noticeable indicator for new players to be able to see whether or not someone is a like knowledgeable about the game, whether they have the credentials, I guess you could say, to be able to help them out if they needed it. Now, that's obviously, if you're familiar with what mentors look like, they have that little crown next to their name with different little other things next to it if they're a mentor in a specific field. It comes with its own chat feature as well that new players and mentors can take part in. Uh, the goal being for the mentors to use this as a manner in which they can help new players, answer questions, basically anything like that. Now that's the intended method of it. That's the intention Square Enix had. However, the player base has really, for the most part, turned the mentor system into kind of a joke.
So it's entered meme status.
Yeah, in my this is going to be my opinion,
Hmm.
but to me, if you are someone who already would want to be able to help new players, you don't need a crown next to your name to be able to do that. So what mentor
True.
chat and all that has turned into is basically kind of like a bunch of people flexing their EP or trying to claim that they know a lot about the game when in reality most mentors that I run into, this doesn't go for all of them, but most that I run into are honest, they give really bad advice and are pretty bad at the game. Now that's just from my
Right.
experience, being blunt, but
And so that kind of opens up like a whole can of worms because I've heard, a WoW refugee here again, just for anyone who is new to the channel. But for me, you know, I can see the intention Square wanted. Obviously, helping new players and trying to reward helpful players, that's awesome. That's a great idea. But in reality, like you said, it's just that's not what happens. So what's interesting is like, well, how do you help new players? And I've heard everything from, well, like a personal report card system to just leave it as is, but so, kind of seeing the glaring flaws, is there anything you can think of just in your own, like, personal right that could maybe, like a grading feature or something for mentors? Like, do you have any ideas of what you would do to change or improve the system?
I mean, if it were up to me, and again, I don't even know if all of this is actually possible from a technical standpoint,
Hmm.
but I would have the actual certification process. Like, hey, if you want to be a mentor, like the way that people become a mentor is already a joke to begin with, because the requirements are very, very easy to obtain. All it is getting 80 with a job in each role. It's getting 1,500 player commendations and running like so many fates and dungeons. It's a laughable goal. It's extremely easy to get.
Just a time sink, essentially.
Yeah, all it is basically a time sink.
Okay.
Really, with the unsync feature, people can knock the dungeon thing out like instantly just by
Oh.
running normal over and over.
Oh, okay. I didn't even think of that. Right.
Yeah, but what I would do if it were up to me, and again, don't know if this is even technically possible, but have some type of actual application process and not just talking to an NPC. Like being
Oh,
able
okay.
to talk like directly with a GM or somebody like that, show your intentions, Maybe they ask you a few questions about your experience with the game. I think that would be really helpful. But again, don't know if that's actually feasible.
Right. Well, if something like that, and again, this is just kind of spitballing here, something like that, obviously, I think is the great feature. What could be interesting is like obviously they don't have to be on Square's payroll, but what if they had like a monthly discount, or some type of actual benefit to them to be like to kind of keep them on your toes because if you're invested in it and you're benefiting from it, then I think everybody could benefit from that. But I think what you said, like it has to become a little bit more complex. It can't just be as superficial as it is.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, if they were to provide some type of actual monetary benefit from being a mentor, like that would be great. But I can also just picture the amount of outrage people would have too over
Oh
that.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
um, I mean, it would probably definitely help though, but they would have to couple that with a system that would actually allow people to grade a mentor. So I
Right.
mean, you mentioned like a report card system earlier.
Right.
Like that would help if they were to couple it with that.
Well, I know like the biggest, and this is a different can of worms, but like ACT, that is a hotly contested issue as well. Well, what if everything is just made on a personal level to where it doesn't have to be viewed by anyone else, but like at the end of the run, it can say, hey, compared to you get like a B plus, or like hey, and then it gives like a suggestion of like, well, hey, maybe next time try to use your Midari like this or whatever. And it's all personal. There's nothing insulting about it. No one's being called out. But like maybe take some portion of it because what's interesting is for someone like me who's new, something that's very off-putting is like just condescending, you know, d
Mhm.
bags on the internet. And in a system, if I come into a system where the game's like saying, hey, this is a mentor, it's like, oh, is this what your community's like? So this could essentially be like a Sprout's first interaction with what they would perceive as the 14 community, which the 14 community as a whole is awesome, but if they come across like a stuck-up jerk and there's no like recourse against someone like that, like I don't know.
You see, that's an actually a really interesting idea, and it's not even the first time I've heard it. But
Oh, same
for
here.
it,
That's not my yeah. I heard that elsewhere too.
um, but that would have to entail? Oh no, sorry, I'm in a mentor roulette as we're actually saying this, and somebody just messed up a mechanic that caused us to wipe. but
Oh wow.
but yeah, so if they were to do something like that, I would be perfectly fine with it. I think it's a good idea at the core. It would require Square Enix to change their stance on a little something though, because generally when it comes to how a job is supposed to be played, they try to be really hush hush about that and let the player base come together,
Right.
find out what the best strat is to implement a type of card system or something.
Right.
They would need to like hard code in, okay, what are they supposed to be doing with this particular job?
Right.
So they,
Right.
but I mean, I like the idea though.
Right.
They would just need to change their stance.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, and again, I know there is no way to make everyone happy, but I guess the immediate thing is the mentor system a, a good thing, And I don't know what you like. Do you have any like opinion on that one way or the other?
Um, Arguments can be made for both ways. It has its pros and its cons. Like personally, I think the idea is good. I think they should keep it. I think improvements can be made to it as to how it actually works. But on the whole, I think it's a good system. Like I do mentor roulette all the time. Like I will spam it even. Now it's
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily because I want to take advantage of it or go for that to mount that you need like 2,000 mentor roulettes to
Right.
get. But I do it for two reasons. One, I used to be really addicted to cell phone gotcha games, and not knowing what I'm going to get in the roulette is kind of like addicting to me, almost like gambling. So
Right.
that's
Right.
kind of like a personal reason.
Right.
But also, I actually like it when I get extreme primals or content like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the type of mentor. I'm not going to come in there and just tell someone how to do the fight. I want to see them actually try a few pulls. If they have questions, I'll answer them and just kind of help them and actually teach them
Mm-hmm.
instead of try to carry them. So I think that's the way the system should be to begin with. So I like it for those reasons.
Right. Right. I mean, that's that's extremely unique. Like hearing you say it, it's like yes, obviously that's the way it should be, but I wonder, you know, what the general community consensus is on like their typical interactions. Because I mean, I'm assuming that type of mentality is, um, I don't know. Would you say that type of mentality from a mentor is the norm, decently common, or is the mentor roulette system just from other mentors you've met, like
Um, I would peg like that mentality behind the system to be not the average, but not uncommon
I see.
either.
I see.
Um, Trying to think of maybe a proper statistic. Basically, this: if somebody is a mentor and they're wearing the crown, generally I take them less seriously. But if somebody is offering help, whether it be with the crown or without the crown,
Hmm.
if they're legitimately putting themselves out there,
Right.
I would at least hear them out what they have to say because most of the time the people that are trying to help are being genuine.
Right. Right. See, I did not know that the crown could be toggled on and off. So yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
That's why
Uh,
you never see me wearing it.
right. Right. So, um, I wonder if some of like the older tech behind the game is maybe like a factor into it, or just simple fact that it would take a sizable amount of manpower to kind of rehaul the mentor system kind of from top to bottom. Like, do you think that maybe if they were to do that, that there should be like a recertification process, like a wipe the slate clean and start again? Or, you know, if they do make a change, do you think like, well, just kind of like grandfather all mentors who are already mentors like into the program, or yeah?
If they were to do an overhaul, the slate would need to be wiped clean for sure. Like
Okay.
if they're going to reintroduce manners in which certifications acquired, yeah, you got to kick everyone out, and if they really want it, they'll come back in. Like, whether that means they have to meet the certifications
Hmm.
anew with something new's been introduced, or whether they just have to go through some new type of process just to get it.
Hmm.
Either way, they need to definitely wipe it clean.
How long have you been in the mentor system yourself?
Well, a long time now. Obviously, they changed some things with 5.1 to where they needed, oh, you need job of each role at 80 and you need 1,500 commendations. I already had well over 1,500 commendations before
Okay.
that became a thing. And by the time 5.1 came around, I also had jobs in each role. So I guess you could say I've been a mentor, quote unquote, for honestly, probably since the system was first introduced, because I had most of the requirements at that time as well.
Okay. Okay. So I have a question. Is it possible for a mentor to be called into a particular piece of content that they have not personally cleared themselves?
No, to be able to even do and utilize the mentor roulette, you have to have cleared everything that can be in the mentor roulette.
Okay. So can like Hades EX be in the mentor roulette?
Current content primals cannot be in the roulette.
That makes
Savage
sense.
content cannot be in the roulette. But older EX primals from expansions prior, that can all be in there.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Sorry, this is probably something that is extreme common knowledge, but I was curious. So.
Hey,
Okay.
no, it's not a problem. A lot of people
Mhm.
don't really know the full rundown of it.
Mhm. So, if you don't mind, just you can be as concise or as detailed as you want. Do you mind just giving like your pros and cons of the system as a whole, starting with pros?
Well, the system itself, I feel like, is a pro. It's the player implementation and how they utilize it. That's the major cons of it. Well, aside from the application process, I think that would actually be a con. They need to actually make that more ro not necessarily robust, but they need to be a little bit more finicky and actually dig into that a little bit more, or make something that's actually a little bit harder to do than just, oh, you need this many player comms and stuff like that. So I would consider that to be a con. But the system on the whole itself, like the intention behind it and what can be done with it, I think it's great. Uh, it's up to the player whether they want to utilize it like that, but it gives people that really want to help an avenue to help. It gives them a roulette that specifically pairs them up with people that haven't cleared a piece of content that you're about to go into. And so you can do your mentor thing in there. Now, whether you approach it like me, who wants to actually help teach and see them learn, and not just say do this, this or that, or whether you want to be the player that just says do this, this and that and win. Yeah, like that's just that's just personal flavor, personal style, but it does give those players the avenues to be able to get out there and help people. And there's not only PvE mentors too. There's also crafting mentors. There's PvP mentors. Crafting mentors are the ones that I personally take this the most seriously, just because a lot of people don't like to dive into crafting, and if somebody is wearing uh, the crafting mentor
Hmm.
icon, then it's something that they actually enjoy doing and don't mind helping.
Hmm.
Uh, Actually, Yuri, which anybody that watched the Hades vid that was before this one,
Hmm.
that was I was helping Yuri get her first Hades EX kill. She's a crafting mentor. She actually carries a lot of materials on her, low level materials for crafting, for any time she runs into newer players and that want to kind of learn what crafting's about.
Right.
They're the ones I take the most seriously.
Right. Working on that good karma to go to heaven. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But no, that's fantastic. So, all in all, though, not to just wondering, like, so cons wise, just from my perspective, it seems like it would be nice if there was a type of maybe like a way to evaluate, or if there is a mentor who might be
Mhm.
like a repeat offender of just being not helpful, or not. I obviously there's always you got to worry about toxicity and just people just spamming to spam, but that's an issue with any type of thing that just needs to be taken on a case by case basis. But it seems like it would be great if there was just a way to maybe evaluate or leave some type of feedback or accommodations on mentors themselves, and maybe.
That's my number one request, is
Okay.
some type of like report card feature on a mentor
Hmm.
that, oh, if you get this many negative marks, you lose your status.
Right. Well, hey, you never know. Maybe the RNG gods of YouTube will, in some way, maybe recommend this to a Square dev, and yeah, who knows? Maybe it can come a thing. Maybe our dreams will not become memes. So,
One
but
can hope.
right,
You just actually reminded me of something.
yeah,
Uh, I remember bringing this up briefly to you earlier this week about two mentors that I happened to run into while doing Blue Mage content.
really,
Now,
yes, that's right.
the two mentors in question. I'm sorry if this is going longer than you wanted to. I'll
Oh
try to
no,
make
no,
this
please go
concise and
for it,
quick.
man.
But so it's two mentors, both of them just normal mentor title, both of them doing Blue Mage content, which I know that's something we'll talk about more in depth later, like another video or something. And also, them both had the Legend title, which for those that don't know, the Legend title comes from completing the very first Ultimate raid, the Bahamut, basically UCOB. Now, they each had all three of these things in common: Blue Mage, Mentor, Legend. Now, the first guy that I ran into, it was me and Yuri again, and we're doing content. We were just going through knocking out stuff for Blue Mage, and we were trying to get somebody to fill in the tank role for Blue Mage. And this guy just kind of gives off that kind of superiority air in chat and
Hmm.
says, "Oh man, everything dies so fast. Like we don't need a tank, all this." And then proceeded to kind of be a jerk in the roulette itself, not the roulette, but the dungeon, and went ahead, rushed ahead, pulled a bunch of stuff, and got himself killed a lot. Ran way ahead of Yuri, who was our healer, and ultimately was just a big, jerk. Now the other guy that we got in a dungeon later on the same night, he was actually a blast to play with. He was conversing, he was talking with us in chat, he was having a good time sticking with us,
Hmm.
and he was just actually, fun to be around. And if he had like some type of tips about spells,
Hmm.
combinations that none of us had thought of, he'd throw those out there, and he actually, acted like a mentor should. So I mean, you have
Right.
two polar opposites, but they share the same kind of background. But it
Right.
just kind of shows the disparity between people who actually use the system the way it's intended and those that are just doing it just to try and check a mark off their list.
Right, right. Just kind of some completionists out there. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely food for thought. And for me, it's something that I think Square would greatly benefit because with the recent rise in popularity, and obviously, 14's always, competed with the big, like, it is the big dog of MMOs. But, like, I feel like with a surge of new players, it's something to keep in mind and work towards, and it's something they should probably reevaluate. So I'm hoping that's something that becomes a reality in the future.
Oh, you and me both on that.
Yeah. Well, man, I is there any maybe parting thoughts you have, or any last like comments you want to leave?
Um, Last comments, parting thoughts. If somebody, regardless of whether you're a new player or a vet, if somebody is offering to help, whether they have a mentor crown or not, if they just ask something very friendly, like, "Hey, I main this class. Like, do you want some tips or anything like that?" Just hear them out, respond, because you run into a lot of the more casual players or new players who feel like they're afraid to talk in chat a lot of
Right.
times. Just go ahead and interact with them because most of the time they legitimately want to help. Just say, hey, yeah, sure. What do you got to say?
Exactly. And that's something that's amazing about the 14 community is like if you're maybe coming from WoW or maybe a more toxic community, sometimes the kindness can almost be perceived as like, oh, they're just being a jerk. And it's not. Like, the majority of the time, the random people out there who are offering to help, it's coming from a good place. So,
Most definitely.
right. Well, thanks again for joining us, Kay. We need to get you your own YouTube or something so I can link people to more of you. But until that happens, I'm just going to try to have you on here as much as possible. So thanks again for joining me, man.
Not a problem. Maybe
All
when I build my own desktop.
right. Well, hey, if you guys are watching this before Christmas, it's the 22nd right now. Have a very Merry Christmas. You guys have a great week.
Merry Christmas.